Hello, everyone. Rajiv Chopra from the Dusty Mike Chronicles, talking about my trip to Zero in Arunachal Pradesh, India. I wrote a blog post about this trip, and that blog post is going to be the first of maybe three or four posts about my trip to Arunachal Pradesh. Well, about this trip to Arunachal Pradesh. And I should call this episode Notes About the Field, but to be consistent, I'm going to call it Notes from the Field. And I also want to make a statement that all these podcasts that I'm putting out now are part of season one. Season two will start in January of 2026. Well, as I said, I was in Ziro, Arunachal Pradesh to attend the 4-day Ziro Music Festival. It's an open day festival which takes place in the rolling hills of the Ziro Valley. And it's been running for about 10 years. I forget the name of the two people who founded this festival, but you can read my article in the Times of India to read more about these people. And they founded this festival, they started this festival primarily to promote or to give a platform to independent music artists in the country. And it's fantastic because I discovered a lot about what's happening in the music scene in India, and it's vibrant. So where is Ziro on the map? And I have attached a map of Arunachal Pradesh and Ziro in this post. So take the time to have a look at the map and figure out where it is in the geography of India. We flew to Itanagar from Delhi, took Indigo Air, and then from there we drove 4 hours to Ziro. Itanagar itself is a crowded hill station with nothing particularly charming about it, but it is the capital of the state. It's about 1,000 meters above sea level, and Ziro is close to 2,000, I'd say 1,700 meters above sea level. We reached Ziro at about 8 o'clock in the evening, ate our dinner. We had chicken curry, some boiled vegetables. They seemed very fond of boiled vegetables, and then went for the show. And we slept by about midnight. And when I woke up the next morning, I went out of my room. We were staying in a 2-star hotel. And I sat on the little veranda just looking out at the absolutely gorgeous blue sky. Now, the sun at that altitude and with that low level of pollution is intense. So the daytimes were really hot and the night times were cool. So I would wake up in the morning, sit in my balcony or the veranda and get some tea, wait for my companions to wake up, have a second glass of tea, and then we go for breakfast, wander around Ziro, and then head for the music festival. So what do you see there? Blue skies, rolling valleys, white billowing clouds. All of this stands in stark contrast to the dead skies of Delhi. And on most mornings, we actually went to the festival in the afternoon and not in the morning because, as I said, the sun was too intense. The first morning we went exploring, went for lunch. The second morning we traipsed around one of the villages there called Hong Village, which apparently is the largest village in Asia. And on one morning, what did we do? I forget. I think we just lazed around. We were lazy buggers. Huh? I actually had wanted to explore the place and do some photography, but that didn't happen. Yes, we went to the 2 artificial lakes. So I did want to do some landscape photography, but I couldn't do that because I was traveling with 3 people, and there are times when you need to compromise on what you want and give up your desire for other people. But I will go back to Ziro. And it's not enough just to go into the hills and lounge about the place. You need to walk around, explore the hills, explore the culture, explore the landscape, and actually talk to people. The other interesting contrast with the hills of North India, as I mentioned, is the intensity of the sun because it's not a popular tourist destination, so there isn't as much dust and vehicular haze that you have as you have in the hills of North India. So all of this stands in very stark contrast to what we find in North India, where the hills and the atmosphere in the hills is hazy. Unfortunately, also in the hills of North India, you have a lot of corrupt politicians, a lot of corrupt municipal people who have been allowing construction, to proceed unchecked, and because of which you also have a lot of degradation and landslides. So I do regret not trekking the the hills, and I also regret not exploring the fish paddy fields. I also learned something about the place when I went to Tawang 2.5 years ago. That's Tawang is in West Arunachal. Buddhist flags and stupas dominated the landscape. So I had the impression that all people from Arunachal Pradesh are Buddhists. And I met a person there and he says, "What rubbish. Most of us from Arunachal Pradesh are animists. It's only those from Tawang who are Buddhists." So when you plan your travel, do your research. I also completely forgot that Ziro lies in northeast India, which technically is about an hour from a let's say time perspective further east than Delhi. So the sun actually sets 1 hour earlier, leading me to, well, I did talk about a Sikh gentleman called Khushwant Singh, who had proposed that India have two time zones. And I think that makes a lot of sense because at 6 o'clock in the evening, it was pitch dark, which is not the case in Delhi. China should have about 4 or 5 time zones, and the country only has one. We had packed all sorts of stuff because people told us that leeches would infest the grounds. Then we met some local people there who laughed at us and said, "You will find leeches, but they only in the woodlands and the forests, not in the fairground." So again, I bought gumboots, gave them away. And then when I did my subsequent research on places I wish to visit in Arunachal, I discovered I have to buy gumboots again for those trips. So the final point I want to make before I say bye-bye is that there is much beauty in India. The problem is that most of us focus on the negative aspects of India. We focus on all the dirt, the muck, the crowds, and we don't actually talk about or promote or even maintain our places. That's unfortunate. So I will be making one long video about my trip to Arunachal Pradesh. I need to edit the photographs, remove the noise, and I need to edit the videos that I shot with my mobile phone to also reduce the noise. But that will follow. And well, that's it for now. And so I will talk about Ziro. I don't know if I'll make another podcast about Ziro, but maybe I will. Let's see. This is the end of this Notes About the Field, Notes from the Field. Rajiv Chopra from the Dusty Mike Chronicles saying, ciao. Send in your comments, leave a comments, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share this post, and I will keep talking. And I hope you keep listening. See you next time.